What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Joined by Mangone, DC, NBA Hardwood Show, talking some hoops. We got 6 games today. It feels like more injury news today than it was yesterday, but excited to dive in. Looks like a pretty fun slate. Injury news obviously will depend where the slate goes. Hope all you guys rostered Cam Thomas yesterday, and hope you guys didn't roster Giannis. I did see Giannis on the winner, so it's not like he absolutely buried you. The snowflake didn't help, but you needed Cam Thomas. There's no doubt about that. DC, throw it to you. Did you have yourself any Cam Thomas? What's going on, man?
Yeah, I had Cam Thomas on all three of my teams. Obviously needed him, back-to-back 40 real point games for Cam Thomas. Pretty crazy. I was actually real close to some big scores. I guess scored 348 on DraftKings with a 23 from $8,400 Christian Wood. So that was a little bit painful. It was pretty close there. Good night overall. And, of course, a lot of big winners over at RPS in general. RPS logos up and down the leaderboard. Congrats to everyone. I know JSU had a big score with the seed and many other people as well. So it was a fun night. And, tonight I'm hoping we get some injury news or some trades to shake things up a little bit because, I think a lot of people are going to run back the Cam Thomas, Edmund Sumner duo, which obviously makes a lot of sense. We'll talk about those guys. But it does seem like a pretty straightforward slate right now to me. So I do think we need, a few, things thrown in to shake it up a little bit. And, given the trade deadline just a couple days away, anything could happen for a lot of these teams right now. So I bet we'll get some unexpected news along the way, and hopefully that'll shake up this slate just a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. Trade deadline on Thursday, so we'll see some trades for sure. Already questionable tags with injury news. LeBron going for the points record. I think he needs 36. That's later tonight. So a lot to talk about. DC, before I go to Mangone, though, Reezer, what happened to the stash? I'm assuming you shaved it. What was the reason? Is the question.
It was getting annoying. It was just bothering me. I don't know. It was time. It was time for the stash to go. I had it for 2-3 weeks. That's about as long as I make it with the old mustache. So back to normal looking DC, I guess.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what a stash bothering me really means. I can't grow it like that. But Mangone, what's going on, man? What's your thoughts on the slate? How's your weekend going? You were on playback yesterday with Glock. A lot going on in your world, Mangone. What's up?
Yeah, I shaved too. It was getting annoying. I agree, DC. I was like, this is absurd. Also, I have way more white and gray in the beard than normal, so that was weird to look at. So, yeah, I felt old, so I was like, we got to get rid of this thing. But yeah, playback was fun last night. We sweat out JSU's team. He needed, and I know Giannis wasn't on like the main winner, but he was on JSU's winner in the queue, which obviously less people, like 400 or so. But we sweated it out. It was Giannis came in the game, and that last 2-pointer that he randomly hit for the minute he was in was a difference. JSU needed it. We rooted it home. So it was a lot of fun doing the playback. Had some members jump on that had sweat. So overall, it was a fun time and excited to break this slate down. I'm sort of in the camp as UDC. Like I want some news, but I am going to the Nuggets Timberwolves game tonight. So I'm kind of building a little bit out of the pocket, right? I'm going to get some stuff set up and then I have to head to the game. So I don't want the news. If the news is flying at like 30 minutes before the Nuggets game, I will not be the happiest about it. So hopefully, and if we do get the news, I hope it's not like 90 seconds before the next lock, because who knows if my service will work at the time. So DC, make sure that news doesn't fly then. Okay?
I was looking at tickets to that game. Was considering going myself. Maybe I still will. We'll see. If it comes down to it and I need a big game of Joker, maybe I'll buy some last minute seats to root at home.
Yeah, if anyone's at the game, I'll be wearing the RPS hoodie. I think I'm sitting like lower level, like one of the corner ones, but I figured I could find my way over to a better seat if I want. So I was like, the seats weren't bad, going with a couple friends, and I want to watch Ant, right? I mean, of course I love watching Jokic, but Ant's my guy. So I went to watch him. I hope we get the Rudy Gobert sits game. That way I get to see Ant really just take off. So that's what I'm looking for.
Well, that'd be some news for you, Mangone. The one game I went to one NBA game so far this year. It wasn't even the Bucks. It was in Arizona, the Suns. They played the Timberwolves as well. They played Ant-Man. It was a pretty solid game. D-Book had a solid game, but yeah, it'll be fun watching the Timberwolves. Thing is, Mangone, you don't want news though. But if Gobert's out, everyone's going to want Naz Reid. And what if you don't have service to get Naz Reid in? So
let's make sure it's not like 90 seconds between the lock times. That's all. Like, give me like a 10-minute window. That's all I ask. At least give me enough time to be able to pull it off. But I think there's a lot of ways to handle this news for this slate. It is not a ton of news, which is definitely encouraging as well. You won't see me in the MME streak trying to make changes on my phone or anything like that, but I got a couple lineups in there, and I'm excited for this slate. I think it's a good one. I would like a couple pieces of news to kind of shake it up a little.
Yeah, so we'll go game by game as usual. Gonna say hi to a couple people in chat before we do the usual stuff. Who we got in chat today? We got Marquis in here. We got Carmi. Jordan's always in here. Mike Carr, P. Lally, Robert, Pete, Phil, Desmond, Kid, Beat Boz, Bill Miner, Bingle, Reezer, Baseball Dad, almost baseball season, Baseball Dad, Jay Burton, George, Corey Holt, Beat Boz, our guy Gary in here, Yeezy, Anchor, Joe, Michael Knack, Winky, Go Collect, We the People. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us, Gator Nation. All we ask, like button, subscribe button. Pretty fun 6-game slate. So the injury news, I'll just read the main questionable injury tags. Some are more questionable than others, I believe, but we'll go game by game, talk more in depth about that. But what we got for questionable right now, Rudy Gobert is questionable. LeBron is questionable. DeMar DeRozan questionable. Jamal Murray questionable. DeJounte Murray questionable. RJ Barrett questionable. And Kyle Anderson questionable. The main questionable tags on this slate. Again, some I think are more likely to play than others. We'll discuss that when we go game by game, though. First game of the night, 7 p.m. Eastern, the only 7 p.m. game. New York Knicks, Orlando Magic, 225 total. The Knicks are favored by 1.5. On the Knicks side, RJ Barrett is questionable. Mitch Robinson is out. So important news right away with RJ Barrett. On the Orlando side, not much over there. Mo Bamba's out serving a suspension. Jumo Kiki is still out as well. DC, I'll throw it to you first. I mean, the Knicks are someone that we always like playing because, they're about to play 40 minutes. Their main guys can never argue with that. So Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson could only be a better spot if RJ Barrett's out to talk if-then scenarios. Your boy Hartenstein, too. Got to give you a shout-out last Tuesday. Came through, no doubt. Closed that game as well. Talking the Orlando side, they're pretty healthy, but Fultz, Wendell Carter, Paulo, what stands out to you, Knicks and the Magic, DC?
Yeah, obviously that Barrett news is big. It doesn't really change the minutes for most of the Knicks, right? Or at least not for Randall and Brunson, but it does change their usage for sure. It's a team that obviously has a very condensed rotation. You almost know, pretty much exactly where the minute they're going to go everywhere but the center spot where it's still Sims, Hartenstein. It's actually been Hartenstein that's kind of taken the majority of those minutes. Obviously, they put up, I think it was 36 fantasy points last week when we were on. But I mean, he's taken the majority of the minutes in each game since then as well. So I think he's interesting at 4,400 regardless. If Barrett does sit, I mean, pretty good matchup here for Brunson, for Julius Randle. I think they would be, not must plays because they're expensive, but certainly guys that you could consider. You'd have to give bumps to Quickly, Quentin Grimes. It's just a team that's not going to expand their rotation much if they're missing RJ Barrett. So the guys that are going to get the minutes will get a few more, and the usage will go up as well. So certainly something to watch there on the first game of the night. We'll just have to see on RJ Barrett, questionable with that illness. Orlando, I'm not super interested in going to Orlando here. They do have a couple guys out in the front court, Kiki obviously and Bamba, like you said. So yeah, if you want to play, Mo Wagner, Bol, I mean, I don't know. I'm not super interested in those guys tonight, especially, trade deadline season. I want to be even more weary of locking up spots early when there could be additional late news. And, outside of the super obvious value, Sumner and Cam Thomas leading the way, I don't think the other value on the slate is all that great. So I will be kind of waiting for perhaps more value to open up. Doubt I'll be locking in too much here, but it certainly would be on the Knicks side, depending on that RJ Barrett news.
Yeah, for sure. If RJ Barrett's out, Emmanuel Quickly will probably slide in the starting lineup like he has. He gets the biggest bump for sure if he's out, but Randall, Brunson all get big bumps as well. Mangone, touch on the RJ Barrett news if then, and then talk any Orlando pieces that you're interested in.
Yeah, the RJ Barrett news will obviously get it in time, and that'll shake up the slate a little bit. He's currently popping up a ton because he's 6,300 and a reliable small forward option that's going to play a pile of minutes on a shorter slate. Just to give a quick overview, I mean, literally every single person is playing Cam Thomas, Edmund Sumner, and Brandon Ingram. They're just popping up a ton. And naturally, what happens is I mean, everyone else is getting owned as like the forward in different spots, and RJ Barrett's going to slide in as a very reliable small forward option because you have salary to make things work. So I think RJ Barrett's in play. I don't mind Julius Randle as a spend. I think an interesting conversation is, do you play Julius Randle as a possible spend up small forward, or a LeBron James like as like a differentiation guy? I think Randle would be the forward that I like as a differentiation spend. Brunson, I know, is on the flow chart and in a pretty decent matchup. He plays a pile of minutes. So I think he's someone else that you can consider. Like, again, they're always in play with the minutes that they play. It just depends if you want to grab them at the ownership they're at. If you have Barrett miss, though, it's going to obviously open up opportunities at the wing. So we'll get that news enough in time, though, to kind of be able to make the adjustments there. On the Magic side, I actually think, for instance, like the build tonight is, like I said, those 3 guards, and then you spend up for Jokic. And I think the balance build gets pretty overlooked. And I mean, Wendell Carter Jr. fits that balance build pretty well. I started doing a thread today title, and then I don't know, I clicked a button on my computer and my entire Twitter link disappeared. So I lost the entire thing when I was literally at the end, and I was very tilted.
Oh no. How long did that take you?
It took me a solid like 25, 30 minutes, and I had like another like 40 minutes, and I was like, I got to shower and get ready for the game.
I was trying to figure out why you were so fired up before the show, but now I know.
Oh, it was tilting. I typed everything up. I felt like I dissected it. Like, I was doing great. I was literally at the last message before I go to do my copy and pasting of my final stuff. That's not hard. And yeah, it was gone. So yeah, I do feel like I have a very good grasp on the slate, though. And I think Wendell Carter Jr. is not one guy you should ignore here, right? I mean, the Knicks defense with Mitchell Robinson not there has taken a fall. And Wendell Carter Jr. is one of those options in that 6K range that if he got me 40 DK points, I'd be running to the window to grab that, right? That sounds like a pretty good price to me. And on a balanced build, it'd be intriguing. So I'm definitely interested in Wendell Carter Jr. I think he's interesting. I know Banchero is popping up a little bit, mainly because, again, he's just, when you spend down at guard, right, some spend up forward just naturally kind of come into play in that build. And I think that Banchero is okay, but not someone I'm racing to play. I think he's fine. I think I prefer Wendell Carter Jr., but positions do matter for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I got to go back to DC. I might have missed it. The Hartenstein whispers tonight or no?
Yeah, I think he's a pretty good play, 4,400. I mean, I don't see why not. I'm not scared of that. Orlando interior, and, you know, especially if Barrett's out, I think it kind of eliminates the opportunity or the chance that Randall might slide to the 5 and take some of those minutes away from the Knicks centers. That doesn't happen all that often anyway, but I just feel a little bit better because I do think Randall could probably handle most of the Orlando bigs at the 5 if the Knicks wanted to go small. So I'd feel a little bit better about Hartenstein if Barrett is out, you know, kind of same as the other Knicks. But yeah, 4,400, I mean, what's he put up these last 4 games? 23, 29, 27, and 35. Like, any of those scores work pretty well at 4,400. So I don't have a problem with it at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially, man, going talking on the value, at least right now. I mean, you know where a couple of value pieces are going, but outside of that, there's not too many options. Yeah. So yeah, I don't mind Hartenstein. Julius Randle, though, yeah. I mean, man, going talking about where a lot of the popular build's going to go. It doesn't look like Julius Randle right now. Even if RJ Barrett's in, he's playing 40 minutes with a 30% usage rate at lower ownership on this slate. I'll take that any day to get different. It's a contrarian spend. So, yeah, I definitely Jalen Brunson, throw him in the same boat. I mean, I'll be talking about these Knicks all the time. I like 40 minutes out of my guys. And I know I said that, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, and RJ Barrett was the play of the day, and the dude played 18 minutes because I don't know if it was Quentin Grimes. Someone was playing better, and he got benched. So you think you're getting 40 minutes, you got to feel good about Julius Randle and Brunson. And if RJ Barrett's in, yeah, he's a good play himself with that cheap price tag at 6.3K. We'll move on to the next game. David, we appreciate that. Hope you're having a good day yourself. Let's keep it rolling. Next game on the slate, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Atlanta Hawks, New Orleans Pelicans. Big total, 236.5. Pelicans are favored by 2. On the Hawks side, DeJounte is questionable. That was a midday questionable with the migraine too. Obviously, if he is out, Trae Young will be the top play on the slate probably. Going to the Pelicans side, Dyson Daniels out. Zion's still out, so not much has really changed there. Then I'll go to you. You're talking about Brandon Ingram being very popular, 7.1K. I mean, he should be 8.1K, but he's going to be 50%. We just saw Giannis get a snowflake at 50%. See someone you can fade, Joe Val, Herbert Jones, and then talk about if then with DeJounte news, because that's obviously very big, 30 minutes after lock.
Yeah, I kind of wish Ingram had that small forward eligibility a little bit, but he's only at that shooting guard spot. And we already have like Cam Thomas that could slide in there. I'll just point this out. Cam Thomas, Sumner, and Ingram, they're all popping on everything. They're very good plays, not saying they're bad plays at all. But like one simple way, if you just went in the opto and you just said, hey, set a rule, a max of 2 of these guys, well, you have some pretty different lineups right away there. You want to get really different, max of 1. I'm not saying that's what you should do. Just saying that is a route that you can go. If I had to pick, the max of 2 would be an intriguing route. I don't think you have to pick in that way, but I think that would be a way that I would consider. Brandon Ingram at 7-1. I like him, but I don't know what to do between like Sumner and Cam Thomas because like, again, Cam Thomas is going to be like very high owned. He's 5,100, 5,200, and he might not even start. And he's a points dependent guy coming off the bench. Like it's just something to think about a little bit. But
Cam Thomas, he's going to start, right?
Are we sure? So here's the thing. I thought so too. And then I said, well, let's think about the starting lineup, right? Sumner has been starting point guard. Then you got Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Ben Simmons, and Nick Claxton. I know we're going out of order here, but who's not starting there? DC?
I don't know, but Joe Harris, I mean, the dude's dropped 40 points in back.
I agree. I'm just saying he's not projected, though.
The thing is, even if he does come off, the dude's going to, I mean, we talked about it yesterday, whether he starts or not. The dude's a hooper, and he has no conscience. He's going to chuck. So even if he comes off the bench, he's going to shoot the ball 20-plus times. But, no, I mean, right now, because Ben Simmons, he's been starting for Ben Simmons. Yeah. Right? I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, Joe Harris is so dusty, but maybe they just keep going with what they've been.
Or they move Sumner to the bench. I would be surprised.
Yeah. And I think it's hard not to start him, right? I agree. It's hard not to. I know we went out of order there, but I lumped these guards all together in conversations today. Like I said, one thing I could see myself doing is really just saying, listen, I think Brandon Ingram's fine, but what does he have to do to absolutely destroy me on this slate at 7.1K? What is the price tag where it hurts? Now, against the Lakers, Dallas, those games were good, obviously. I would sign up for those games, and I want to have them. It's the matchup against Atlanta, which is super scary as well. But could CJ McCollum maybe be the guy who steals some of that opportunity? Yeah. Could JTHayes have a big game? Yeah, he certainly could. And maybe I could use my money to grab Trae Young with like DeJounte Murray possibly out. Right? That's another piece of news that could come. So those are things that I'm definitely thinking about when kind of building out my lineup. So if I had to pick between like Cam Thomas, Sumner, and Ingram right now without knowing who's starting, I would lean just fading the expensive guy if I had to pick one. Now, if it's the other way, I'd say, just fade whoever that starter or non-starter is going to be on the Nets and grab those other 2 pieces. So, yeah. But overall, Ingram is a good play, someone that I'm going to be considering today. I do think the CJ McCollum pivot is really intriguing at 8K. Like I said, we already have someone to slide in the shooting guard spot with Cam Thomas. So you're using the other spot as a guard because he doesn't have that forward eligibility. I do think Brandon Ingram is in that weird spot where if you think about Jimmy Butler, right? Jimmy Butler was chalky on the slate with Santi Aldama, and both of them were both power forward eligible, and Aldama was a starter at 3.2K. And if Aldama is like a guaranteed lock in your opinion, and if you're like DC, it sounds like you think Cam Thomas is a guaranteed lock at shooting guard, how many more spots can Ingram slide into? Well, he can only slide into a guard and a utility. So, like, that's what makes it kind of interesting to make that as a fake because there's just less spots for him to go. And if he was a small forward.
Cam Thomas is also point guard eligible now today.
Yeah, correct. He is point guard eligible as well. But it is, again, if you think Sumner's then a lock, like I said, that would cause it where the shooting guard's not as eligible, right? He doesn't have that one more spot. Cam can slide into 4 spots while Ingram can slide into only 3. So, yeah. But overall, I think CJ McCollum, interesting pivot that you could go to for only $900 more. And I mean, CJ could easily bust off for a humongous game. We know Valanciunas, he loves to just like keep chucking up the shots and playing volleyball with himself. The question are the minutes, right? At 24 and 22 minutes, are you comfortable with that? And there's a lot of guys there that can make it crowded, right? Larry Nance could easily jump in there and steal some time. So I get a little worried with Valanciunas. I don't think he's an option I'm going to go to. Really, the 2 I'm considering on the Pelican side the most, I'm considering Brandon Ingram. I'm considering CJ McCollum. I think Herb Jones is a pretty interesting option because that game with Atlanta, because of the way they're playing defense, the game gets really sloppy. And those are the games that I like Herb Jones in where he has to play a lot of defense as well. So I think Herb could bust out for a pretty big game. And then the Hawks side, we're obviously waiting on the DeJounte Murray. He is questionable right now with a migraine. We should have that news enough in time to be able to help make decisions on it. If he's out, Bogdanovich is a pretty good play at the small forward spot. If you really want to get different, plug him in at shooting guard, man. Like that, no one's going to want to do that. I know it's uncomfortable because you like other shooting guards, but that would instantly make your Bogdanovich shares pretty different. Hunter at 5'2" would be in play. John Collins, I like when he gets these roles because he has to chuck the ball up a lot more and kind of soak up some usage. And then I don't know how I feel about Capella at 6'2". I know he's on the flow chart. I don't think he's a bad play, but he kind of falls into that Valanciunas bucket. Could he come in for a big game? Yes, he could, but those minutes, 26, 26, 22, 29, it's not like he's going to gain more minutes with Murray being out. So that's one more thing I'm a little concerned about. But Hawks-wise, I'd rank him. Bogdanovich would probably be number one, or it'd probably be Bogdanovich 1, then Trae Young 2. Trae would be a really interesting spend-up option that I think would be awesome at 9.4K for your lineups. And then I'd say Hunter's 3, or Collins is 3, and then Hunter is 4 for me. That'd be kind of my rankings on them.
Yeah, good breakdown there. Someone asked, why is Ingram so popular? A lot of people in chat mentioned, but yeah, he's 7.1K. There's no Zion. He's been back for 5 games. 3 of them, he's at north of 40% usage. The other 2 above 30. I mean, he's playing mid-30s minutes too. So you had all of that up together. He's going to grade out really well. There's no doubt. DC, I'll go to you. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Mango, like Joe Val. You give me 30 minutes, I would love Joe Val. Capella, same thing, but the minutes can be scary. They do have upside though. What are you doing with them? And then talk about Trae Young news. If he's out, or not Trae Young news, DeJounte news. Obviously, if he's out, Trae Young will be the guy. But talk about the secondary pieces, the Hunters, Bogdanoviches, Collins of the world. What would you do with them? Break down this one.
Yeah, starting with the bigs for New Orleans, I do think is an interesting spot for Joe Val. I mean, you want to roster him. He has some of the most volatile minutes in the league, right? When him and Nance are both healthy, it can be anywhere from 35 to what? I mean, some games it's like 16, 17 minutes he plays. But I do think this is a matchup where he potentially sees more minutes. It's not like Capella is getting up and down the court and out in transition or stepping out to 3, right? Like Valanciunas obviously has some deficiencies, right? He's not really a modern NBA player. And I do think he typically gets more minutes when he's also up against kind of a traditional type center, which I think Clint Capella is. Okongwu kind of fits that build a little bit. So I could see potentially more minutes for Valanciunas here. It's obviously, you never know for sure, but I mean, even in that last game against the Lakers where he only saw 24 minutes, put up 44 fantasy points. So he does have huge upside if the minutes to production go his way. He's a guy that can get you 45, 50. I think he'll be pretty low owned tonight, and he's relatively cheap, 5,700. So I do have some interest in Valanciunas. Ingram, I wouldn't call him a lock at 7,100, but he seems fully healthy, right? He missed all that time with the toe injury. I thought he might be a little slow coming back, but it does seem like they were really, really cautious with him, made sure he was 100% when he came back, and he's been his normal self or even better than his normal self since coming back. So pretty tough fade at 7,100 in a good matchup. And then the Atlanta side, yeah, we'll have to see on DeJounte Murray. I've only had a few migraines in my life, which he, got the mid-day downgrade for, but man, I wasn't playing a sporting event in the NBA on a migraine day. Like that, at least for me, that shit took me out for a whole 24 hours. Very specific, right? Like they could just list it as a non-COVID illness or whatever if he wasn't feeling well. But the fact that they actually listed it as a migraine makes me think he's got a decent chance to sit here. Obviously don't know for sure, but yeah, if he does sit, I mean, I want Trae Young into my lineup personally. I think he would be an awesome play. But I wouldn't overlook the other Hawks guys, right? They get pretty thin on the wing, and DeJounte Murray, obviously a pretty high usage guy. So I think Hunter, Bogdanovich at that point would be pretty strong plays as well alongside Trae Young. You could go to a very cheap John Collins, I think, at 5,400 as well. So yeah, DeJounte Murray potentially opens up a lot of pretty good plays for the Hawks. We'll just have to see if Murray plays or not. But yeah, I think a pretty good game here overall. Obviously the high total, and a lot of it, at least on the Hawks side, really does depend on the DeJounte Murray news.
So let's say DeJounte is out, DC. Let's say, AJ Griffin, let's say it would be Aaron Holiday or AJ Griffin that would start for him. AJ Griffin started the last time out, had a solid game. Could you go to him for value, him or Holiday, whoever the starter is? And then how many Hawks would be too many? I think that question would be asked. Guys like Collins, Bogdanovich, Hunter, all right in the mid-range, Griffin, Trae. how many would be too many for you?
I think I'd be willing to play 3. I doubt I would go to 4 Hawks, but yeah, 3 would be fine. Obviously, I think I would start with Trae Young, and then 2 of, you could play whoever starts, Griffin or Holiday, and then Bogdanovich and Hunter, I think, would be my next choices there.
Yeah, I hope Griffin starts. I would like Griffin more. Man, go and talk about that. You're about to say something.
Can I ask you a question, Title? So, like, if you saw Cam Thomas to the bench, right, and then you had Murray out, wouldn't you see Bogdanovich, like, he's at the same price as Cam Thomas? Wouldn't you see Bogdanovich's ownership possibly like get closer to Cam Thomas? I think that could happen projection wise, right? Just because let me see what Cam
Bogdanovich will still come off the bench, I think, too. And if that's the case, people will. I mean, the thing with Cam, the dude is going to chalk regardless. Like, we're about to get to that. Like, people are going to see what he's been doing. I still think Cam Thomas would be.
Cam's projection is around like, I mean, maybe Cam would just barely. Maybe he'd be ahead of Bogdanovich, but it'd be closer than you think.
And he's cheaper, but he's also what, 300 cheaper, 400 cheaper.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, he is 300 cheaper, but yeah, I mean, obviously these Hawks are going to be good plays if Murray is ruled out. I mean, we'll see. And we should have an update in 45 minutes. We should get the update, and then like right before lock, we might get like, if it's just like, oh, he's still questionable. Right before lock, we should at least get some in or out to be able to make the quick adjustment. So, and Chugaboo, yes, you can play both, but I'm just saying they can cut into each other, right? Again, like when we talk about this, when I say like some people, I was talking in the Discord chat and I said, forward is not good today. Who do you like? And like one comment was McDaniels. And I was like, okay, name 5. And then it's like, it starts getting rough, right? Like, it's just, there's not a lot.
Especially when McDaniels is the first one you say, it's not the best forward position.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like the best way to note it is, if I told you could play McDaniels at the shooting guard spot or the guard spot, are you going to do that on this slate? No chance. That's the point. Forward's not good today. It just isn't. There's clear-cut guards that you want to go to, and then the forwards that are going to be chalk are probably not the best, and you probably should look for ways to make that different. And again, the slate could change because if Murray gets ruled out, Trae Young gets a huge boost, and the debate would be, is it Trae Young with Jokic, or is it maybe you have to sacrifice Jokic now, or maybe you sacrifice Ingram? I mean, obviously that news is going to be huge for the slate. But yeah, you're about to go to the Nets game, Title, but I got to do something downstairs real quick. So go to DC first on this.
Yeah, you got plenty of time, man. Go. Yeah. So we get that the Knicks game is the only game at 7. This DeJounte news, this game's at 7:30. So if we get on the show, I mean, we touch on how we touch on a little more Trae Young, Hunter, Collins, all that. But the Up to Lock show, they will get it on the Up to Lock show when they're on there for sure. They'll break it all down. Whoever starts, nobody better in the business. JSU got that live final seat yesterday. Big T holding there, taking you up to lock. You do need to be a member for that, though. Is it DC 15 or Draft Cheat 15? I don't know. I don't want to mess this up, DC.
I threw my chips in the JTHayes team because it became clear that I wasn't going to win. So JT, is it JTHayes 15? I think it is.
I was going to say, I don't even know if you know what it was because I was saying JT 15 and I don't even think that was what it was.
I think it's JTHayes 15 because
JTHayes.
I wasn't going to win, but I didn't want one of the Twitter spammers to take the crown. So I'm in with JTHayes 15.
JTHayes 15 gets you 15% off. Need that for the Up to Lock show. Waste management this week. Golf is big. We'll have a free show on YouTube today. Snyder Locks AP breaking that down. Premium show tomorrow. MMA this week. NASCAR is back in full force. A lot going on. No better time to join. Baseball coming up. We'll have some underdog baseball best ball drafts as well kicking off here in the next few weeks. So be on the lookout for that. A lot going on. Talking Super Bowl. DC, Butthole Jenkins talking about it. DC's got his Chiefs hat. That's on Saturday or Sunday as well. So huge weekend over here. No better time to join. Let's keep it rolling though. Like button, subscribe button. All we ask for, I'll say 325. I think that's a very easy number. About 700 watching. So 325 likes for the plays of the day. Second game of 2 that locks at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Phoenix Suns, Brooklyn Nets, 224.5 total. Phoenix is favored by 7.5. Devin Booker will be back. He is playing today. Cameron Payne is still out. Landry Shamet is still out for Phoenix. So they are pretty healthy. As far as Brooklyn, obviously KD still out. Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith will not be playing. Seth Curry still out. Watanabe is out. Obviously, that's a lot of people out for the Nets. Cam Thomas, Edmund Summer, we've talked about it a lot. They will be 2 of the chalkiest options on the slate. Nicholas Claxton, 7-7, has been playing good ball. Joe Harris, man, he has been dusty. I'll go to you first, DC. I mean, even if Cam Thomas comes off the bench, I still think he's a very elite play. The dude's going to chuck. He's a hooper. We talked about it yesterday. I'm not telling anyone, breaking any news for people, but talk about Sumner and Cam Thomas's chalk. What else are you doing in this game?
Yeah, I mean, those two guys are obviously, quote unquote, good chalk, given what they've done. All the guys out for Brooklyn still. They do get Ben Simmons back, but I don't know how much that really affects Thomas and Sumner because, if you look at stuff like the passing numbers, potential assists, these guys aren't really distributing that much anyway. They're kind of like pure scorers. And Ben Simmons is like obviously the opposite of that, right? He's not taking any shots from these guys. The dude absolutely refuses to shoot the ball. So I don't know if it affects them all that much, except maybe Cam Thomas comes off the bench. We'll see. I would be surprised myself, but obviously none of us know for sure what Brooklyn will decide to do. I will say this, though. This is kind of a tough matchup for Brooklyn. Phoenix, a good defensive team, a good team overall. Phoenix favored by 7.5 here, 224 total, which is one of the lower totals. I think it's the lowest total on the slate. And this is the third game in 4 nights for these Brooklyn guys, who weren't really playing many minutes. Now, obviously they're young players and they've done it. Thomas, 40 real point games in back-to-back games now. But that's a lot of minutes, a lot of usage. And I assume it'll be Mikal Bridges, one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA, on Cam Thomas for, maybe essentially every minute he's out there. Now, obviously, if you're going to give up 25, 30 shots, you're probably going to get there at 5,200 anyway. But he shot the ball really well, right? Like in these last 2 games, 7 for 11 from 3 and 4 of 5 from 3. He is a very good shooter, but obviously nobody, can sustain shooting 80% from 3 and on tired legs and with a really elite defender on him. I don't know. He needs at 5,200. What does he need? 30 at least, probably to be a good play.
Yeah. If you fade him and he gets 30, I think you're still. At the ownership he gets, I still think you're living. Yeah. There's no doubt about that.
And I'm seeing him projected for 40 to 50% ownership. I honestly think it'll be higher as long as he doesn't come off.
Especially if he starts. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody is jumping on the train. If you played him yesterday, he's the first guy in your lineup tonight. Probably he came through for you. You're not going to jump off the train. And if you didn't, you probably want to get on board at this point. But we do see this where players that look just like complete total locks, sometimes they fail. And I do think they are. I outlined them the matchup, individual matchup, the minutes that he's not used to, all that stuff. I think there's room for a fade tonight with Cam Thomas. I do. So I'm playing 3 lineups. I'll probably have him on 1 and then maybe fade him on the other 2. I think it's kind of hard to fade both Sumner and Cam Thomas just because it seems like if Thomas does have a bad game, Sumner 4,100 seems like he would be the one to go off. He's much cheaper as well, obviously, with that $1,100 discount. So I don't know. I had all the Cam Thomas and Sumner yesterday, but I do think there's more room for a fade tonight than there was yesterday. So yeah, I'm sure famous last words, and maybe Cam Thomas is maybe he's the best to ever do it, and he puts up a 3rd straight 40-point game. I don't think so. I think he comes back to earth at least a little bit tonight, and I don't know. It'll be fun to see the angry people on Twitter if Cam Thomas can't get the job done. We'll see. But yeah, I'm leaning a little bit more towards a fade. Again, probably going to play him on 1 of my 3 lineups. Probably Sumner on 2 of the 3. Mix and match those guys a little bit. Phoenix side, I wish Devin Booker wasn't back for this game. I think Chris Paul would be a really fun play, but hard to play Paul with Booker back, and I can't pay $9,500 for Booker in his first game back after a long absence on a groin injury. It's kind of an injury that he might see limited minutes coming back from as well. So not going there. We see increased prices for Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, right? Like all these guys are up for the Suns, so it's kind of hard to get there. I think DeAndre Ayton would be maybe the one guy that I'd be more willing to use. Could see him having a big game against this kind of younger Brooklyn front court. But yeah, Claxton, I think, would be an okay pivot off of the Brooklyn chalk if you wanted to go that direction too. I'm not going to Ben Simmons at 6,700. I just can't do it. But, Yeah, I don't know. I wish there was some better value. And, it's not like Cam Thomas is 3,200, right? He does have to have a big game, like we said, or a decent game at least at 5,200. So I can, I guess did it the best I can, but I can see the case for a fade here.
Yeah, so of the three, Ingram, Cam Thomas, Edmund Summer, DC would most likely be fading. Cameron Thomas, he's going to be underweight, it looks like, right?
And the ownership projections I'm looking at don't reflect that, but I'll be surprised if Thomas isn't the highest owned of those three. That's kind of, I guess, part of the basis for my reasoning.
Yeah, he should be higher than Sumner, you think, because he has the shooting guard eligibility, right? Like that.
And just because he's had bigger games. I mean, I don't know. He's growing.
I agree with the Suns. I mean, the thing about Cam Thomas, like dating back for years, this guy has just been a bucket. You play him in summer league, the dude goes off. You play him at the end of the season when the teams are bad, the dude goes off. He has no conscience. He's a hooper. He can put it in. But I mean, anytime you're shooting reliant and stuff, one of the best defenders in the league, you can see him missing shots. I mean, he shot the ball really well. You can come back to earth, but I mean, man, if you're shooting the ball 25 times at 5,200, you really don't see that.
You might not see him shoot the ball that many times if his first buckets aren't going in, right? If he starts,
I still think just look who he's playing with: Royce O'Neal, Ben Simmons, Joe. Yeah. Like they just don't got guys to shoot is the thing. But yeah, I mean, if you start 0 for 10, is he really going to put up 25 shots? Probably not. You're probably right about that. Mango, I'll go to you. Sunside definitely is tough. Now that they're fully healthy, I think one of the easier cross-offs on the slate. But yeah, Sumner, Cam Thomas, Claxton, and out of Sumner, Ingram, and Cam Thomas, who are you most likely to fade, Mango?
Oh, that's the tough one. So like, let's at least preface it with this. I don't know if DC mentioned it while I was going to switch over the laundry because my jeans in there, and I don't want to go to the game just in boxers or something. But
you don't got sweatpants? You're wearing the RPS hoodie? You don't got
dude?
Sweats
I think the sweats are in there too. Like I threw a lot in. It definitely was very due.
You only got one pair of jeans, man. Going, you got to watch one pair of jeans.
I have both in there. The two main ones that I wear.
I got no pairs of jeans, so you got one more than me at least.
Title has no pairs, man. So
no pairs of jeans.
I don't know the last time I wore jeans. Maybe
that's insane that you don't have one pair, like not one.
Yeah, if I wear anything, it's joggers. That's my dress.
Young man's game, Mango. We're over the hill over here.
Yeah. I don't know. Hey, but man, you look great in jeans, Mango, and I already know that. Keep it rolling though.
Let's keep this thing moving. So the Cam Thomas thing is tough because like again, if he starts, like trust me, like whichever guy starts, it's gonna matter. And if both start, that is gonna be intriguing. If both start, I think I'm going to end up shifting my off of Ingram. I think that's like the first guy I pull out. But whichever guy doesn't start, I think that's the one that I don't have as much interest in. DC, here's a fun question. What do you think Cam Thomas's points prop was yesterday? And what do you think it is today?
Yesterday, I bet it was 19.5.
Nail on the head, 19.5. Excellent.
I got it?
Yep. Now what's today's?
22.5.
You're off by one. 23.5 on the FanDuel book. That's the only book that I see has it. So
pretty good guesses.
What?
Yeah, that was sharp.
Yeah, they were good guesses. I'll give you that. But like that's what I looked at yesterday. I only played him on one of my two main yeah, that's very hurtful, by the way. Tucking my shirt into my but overall, I think Cam Thomas, really, really good play, but I'm going to think about how I play him, Ingram, and Sumner. If I have to pick, I think, like I said, whoever's not the starter, I'd go with. But if they're all starting, I would lean on just getting off of Ingram if I had to pick for sure.
I think he mistook you for Snyder, Mango.
That's a fair point. Snyder definitely is on the course. He's touching the layer rough, right? And with the shirt tucked in, looking good on the course for sure. But I think overall, this is a great game we want to get exposure to. But I think DC brought up really good points about everything. And again, it's the fourth night, like he said. There is risk to some of these options. We know the Nets can pull some funny business sometimes. So just keep that in mind for sure here. Ben Simmons, I don't have any interest in. Don't want to go to him. I know Claxton's popping up a little bit, but against Ayton, I don't know if I love him. And I don't love any of these Suns. These Suns feel like easy fades for the most part. You could make a case for like a Cam Johnson at a forward spot, I could see, but I don't know. This game, it's really just these Nets guards are kind of bust, right? That's kind of where I'm at. You could make the case if you do more of a stud build than like a Joe Harris slide in there. Yeah, I could see it. But again, I don't want to go to too many of these options. And I also think Ben Simmons being back could hurt Claxton a little bit because you could see Claxton or Simmons not close at the 5 and them go maybe Royce at the 4 and then put one of them at the 5 and then play Sumner and Cam Thomas instead, right? So there's definitely routes where they can run into him a little bit for sure.
Yeah, I'm not as nervous about Claxton not finishing at the 5. I'm more nervous with Simmons back. Like all of Claxton's big games, he's had double-digit rebounds. Now with Simmons back, rebounding rate goes down a little bit. So I think that's mainly the concern. But yeah, I agree. This game, Sumner, Cam Thomas, two of the chalkiest options on the slate. Can't throw in Claxton if you're going stars and scrubs. You wanted Joe Harris. I don't think it's the worst. I don't love it. But outside of that, really don't think it's a game you need to get to too much.
Yeah, no one says they're bad plays. We're just saying think about how you play them. That's it. It's just make sure you do that.
You said Cam. You're saying we're not saying Cam Thomas is a bad play?
No, yeah, Cam and Sumner. Like I don't want anyone to mistake us thinking like DC does not think he's a bad play. He's just saying, hey, you got to make some difficult decisions sometimes, and if he has to make that decision, that's the one he's going to go with. And for me,
listen, if he was going to be 20% owned, I'd play him on all three of my teams. But I think he's going to be like 50 to 60, and that's a different story.
I mean, I would be 150ing DK FanDuel. I'd be asking all my buddies. I mean, you to get everyone to try and throw as many teams with Cam Thomas as you can if he was 20%.
Just like Giannis yesterday, like at 60, like he was not on the winning lineup in the $15. And like, yeah, you'd be surprised by that. And if I told you fade Giannis against Portland yesterday, you'd be like, oh no, that sounds like a terrible idea. But it did work out based on that construction. And maybe as we get to Jokic, maybe he'll be a guy that we'll talk about as a possible, hey, maybe you fade him and play all three of those guards if you like him. Not saying that's a comfortable thing to do, but you just can't play every single chalk play and win, by yourself, So it's just, it's some decisions you have to make and they're tough.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So monitor the starting lineup. We're not 100% with Ben Simmons back. Maybe it's Cam Thomas. Maybe it's Joe Harris. Who knows who starts, but keep an eye on it. Whether Cam Thomas comes off the bench or starts, though, like if Cam Thomas is 50% starting and he came off the bench, he was 30%, I would think he's a way better play coming off the bench, no doubt. I'm not sure. I don't think the ownership will be that. It'll be that big of a difference, though, regardless. But check starting lineups. You have to monitor that. That game's at 7:30, so we should get that hopefully before the first game on the slate at 7 for the Knicks. 3 games left on the slate. 325 is what we need for the likes. Over 700 watching. Like button, and then when you hit that big red subscribe button right next to it as well, you get notified every time we go live. We appreciate it in advance. Moving on, the only game at 8 p.m. Eastern, the Chicago Bulls, Memphis Grizzlies, 233.5 total. Memphis is favored by 9.5. On the Bulls side, DeMar DeRozan is questionable. Alex Caruso is questionable. That is it on that side. As far as Memphis, Steven Adams is still out. So this is the second night of a back-to-back for Chicago. Played yesterday, blew them out. Starters didn't play too many minutes. Vooch had a very good game. DeRozan and Levine disappointed. Obviously, if DeRozan's out, Levine, huge bump. Vooch, huge bump. Patrick Williams, Ayo, all those guys get bumps there. If he's in, I'll see what you do. Mangun, I'll start with you. If he's in, what are you doing? If he's out, what are you doing? Then talk about Memphis, Bane, Ja, Tillman, the 3 main ones, Jaren Jackson, the 4 main ones, I think, getting a little look.
Yeah, so DeMar DeRozan is questionable. Like, I'm assuming he's playing, but obviously if he doesn't play, that's pretty big news, and that's going to open up some more Bulls values that I don't think are on everyone's radar right now. So, that would obviously shake things up a bit. I think Levine would be interesting and in the conversation. You can always make the case for Vucevic. Just depends if you want to pay for him at that price. And one thing to call out, Memphis is a spot where we typically see Steven Adams and we say, oh, I'm kind of nervous about playing big men against Steven Adams. Well, that's not Steven Adams under the paint. That's Xavier Tillman, right? That's Brandon Clark. Yes, it's a back-to-back for Vucevic, but I do think you got to make the case that not a bad spot for him. He's on the flow chart, so calling that out there, I think he's kind of intriguing as a spend up if you want to get different with your center, but you have to pay for it at the $9K price. Levine, I think he'd be kind of intriguing at 8.3. He definitely did it last game, but I know Memphis has had their struggles against wings. I think he could definitely be a really good play, and he'd shoot up a little bit more for me if DeRozan was out. But if they're all in, not dying to get there on those options. I think if they're all in, Pat Williams at 5.1, I think could be an intriguing differentiation forward play that I think has the ability to get you like 30 to 35 DK points. That could be not a bad option. Caruso, I know, is still questionable. And if Caruso doesn't play, that could open some things up for these guards, right? Ayo Dosunmu, he gets those like solid 30 plus minutes a night and could be interesting at 4.3. Kobe White, If the game got ugly, he could obviously be cleaning up in that garbage time. If he gets hot, he can get there, but not someone I'm dying to play at that guard position. I think Io would be an interesting guard other than Kobe White. The one thing that's nice, like I said about Levine, is that small forward eligibility, just because we talked about how important guard is. So I think that's going to be a big point, and looking to see what the ownership ends up being if DeRozan is out. But if DeRozan's in, I don't really want to play any of these guys. And on the Memphis side, I don't really want to play anyone over there either. I mean, Xavier Tillman at center, maybe at 4-6, you could talk me into, just because I think he can find a ways to get there. I think Jaren Jackson has the upside at 7-3 to have a 50-point fantasy game. So I think he's one Memphis spend up that I don't mind, but I don't like Bane that much. Dylan Brooks, I just never want to play ever again. I hate him. I've always hated him, and just no need on this slate. And John Morant is a contrarian spend up point guard, but I think there's other point guards I'd rather go to right now. If someone said they like Jaws, their contrarian spend, I wouldn't tell them not to do it. I would just say, hey, I think that's a good strategy, but I have other point guards that I am looking at right now instead.
Yeah, the point guard's loaded. I mean, the thing with Ja is like I'd rather differentiate, and usually that's the case on the stars. Like if everyone's going to go Jokic and Trey, Julius Randle, John Morant, like you're getting big minutes with big upside there. Whereas Edmond Sumner, I'm trying to find someone around the 4K range to beat Edmond Sumner. It's a lot tougher than going up top. So I think John Morant, they're implied for the second highest points on the slate. He looks to be low owned. We know Ja 10.3K. I mean, he can put up 70 at any matchup. So I don't mind Ja one bit as a contrarian spend. Same boat.
Can we also call out title with Drummond yesterday? He had a great game.
I was about to bring it up.
Shout out to JSU on the up to lock show, and shout out to DC for playing Derek White and giving that call. DC, I was on Malcolm Brogdon instead, which I think it could have went either way. I think Brogdon was good too, but I ended up playing more Brogdon than White. But shout out to the up to lock show for that. Obviously, if you guys don't watch the up to lock show, it's a great show to watch. And if you haven't signed up, use that code DC15, get you the old 15% off. And like I said, shout out to these two guys. They absolutely crushed it on the up to lock show yesterday. The cores were all updated, and it was a huge RPS day. I saw a 100K winner in chat. I saw so many winners; it was absolutely absurd. So
man, going when it's like the presidential race, and one guy he's not going to win, so he throws his endorsement to another candidate. That's me with the promo code race here. I've thrown my chips in with one JTHayes. So JTHayes 15. That's the code you want.
Mangon was getting his blue jeans ready.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out. I was going to shout out Drummond. So people are asking us, like, what are your thoughts on Drummond after last night? I have no thoughts, because I have no thoughts on that guy all year. One man is the guy to ask about that, and that's JSU. He will be on the Up to Lock show. Ask JSU in the live show chat. No opinion that nothing matters. My opinion on Andre Drummond means nothing. JSU's the Drummond whisperer, just like the Hartenstein whisperer is down below. So yeah, shout out JSU. Big night for him. I saw took second for 35K. Jackson smashing Discord. I was trying to go to the winners win section in Discord. I was going to shout out some members. Hardly anyone dropped their screenshots in chat though, so I couldn't shout out. I couldn't find the names. Too much to go in the NBA chat and go all the way back.
There were so many last night title. I probably like it was absurd. So
I think JSU played Drummond on one of his three teams, I believe.
Wasn't the winner, but he did.
No, I was just shocked that it wasn't the Drummond team. I mean, 3,200, he drops 50 fantasy points at like 0.4% ownership. I just kind of assumed it was the Drummond team, right? Like,
yeah, no, I did too. Yeah, I think it was Giannis with the snowflake. So yeah, definitely get in the live show chat. Ask JSU about Drummond if you got questions on him today. DC though, what's your thoughts to Rosen? If he's in, if he's out, what does that mean? Talk about Memphis.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he sat. I think Chicago might blow it up here, and I think DeRozan would be maybe the most likely piece to move. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's why he's questionable. Maybe trying to figure out what they're going to do going forward. So I do kind of expect him to sit. And yeah, I mean, if he's out, give me some Zach LaVine. I think is a pretty good play, and Vucevic I think is decent too. I think Tillman's okay, but the guy I really like here, you guys talked a little bit about him, John Morant. Memphis has actually lost, I think, 9 of 10 or 10 of 11, something crazy, mostly coinciding with Steven Adams going down. John Morant's also been involved in there was like the Shannon Sharp thing. Then I don't know if you guys saw the story with like the laser pointer and with the pacer.
You didn't. Yeah, it's not. I think it's.
I try and stay off of Twitter. I try and stay off of Twitter more than I'm on it.
Yeah. My point, I guess, just some drama surrounding John Moran. He's had to defend himself on Twitter recently. To me, back at home against the team, I mean, Vucevic is like a good, smart defender, but he can't defend the rim against someone like John Morant coming down the lane, right? He just doesn't have the athleticism to do so. So I don't know. It's just a narrative. It's just kind of a hunch, but I kind of think John Morant might put this team on his back tonight and put up one of his 70 burgers. They get some pretty low ownership, right? Those guard spots are kind of precious. I mean, everybody wants Sumner, Cam Thomas, Brandon Ingram. Doesn't leave a lot of room for a guy like John Morant. So I do think he's a good contrarian spend up tonight. Someone I'm going to have on at least one of my 3 lineups.
I like it. Nothing else though. Obviously, if DeRozan's in, but like
DeRozan, Jackson, the Chicago studs are good plays. But I don't love playing the Chicago they got like 4 point guards. I don't go to those guys very often.
I played it last night. It wasn't fun.
We got one guy in chat saying I've seen reports saying the Bulls are going to move their core plays. Another guy in chat, reports are Chicago are they're not selling, they're looking to add. So no one knows what's going on with Chicago. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. What are the Bulls winning at the end of the day? I wouldn't be surprised if they
one round in the playoffs at most. I mean,
at most. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's I think what the smart move to do. They haven't won anything with Levine, Vooch, and DeRozan, but. Hey, what I think does not matter. DeRozan's questionable. If he's out, it definitely matters on this slate. Might get that on the Up to Lock show as well. A lot of injury news that will probably be popping up on the Up to Lock show. Again, JSU holding Big T taking you up there. JTHayes 15% off. 2 games left on this slate. Next game, 9 p.m. Eastern. Minnesota Timberwolves, Denver Nuggets. 233 total. Denver is favored by 8.5. On the Denver side, Jamal Murray is questionable. Zeke Naji is questionable. Going over to the Minnesota side, Gobert is questionable. Kyle Anderson is questionable. Jordan McLaughlin is questionable. Austin Rivers is out. Can't start with DC today because he's not going to the game right in Denver. Watching his own Timberwolves too, which is hurtful. Mangone's got the tickets over there. He'll be there in action. Game stacking it. What are you doing, Mangone?
Yeah, I got one team ready to go for the stack just in case with 10K egregiously priced Ant Edwards. I mean, but that's okay. It's a good matchup, right? I mean, he should absolutely crush. I'm hoping Rudy sits just because I know that's when Ant thrives more, and that would be a lot of fun for me to watch as Ant absolutely dominate. I also think,
but you're not recommending that to the people, are you?
No, I'm not recommending. I'm not. I have a game stack for the reason of
going to the game,
you have to have one for sure. Also, Kyle Anderson, I want to call out. I think his usage is very, very important, and I also think the minutes as well because. No Austin Rivers matters, right? Because he soaks up a lot of minutes on the wing. If Kyle Anderson's not there, well, that's going to give Jaden McDaniels for sure a ton of those minutes there. It's going to give Taurean Prince, who could be an interesting punt forward option, a little bit more minutes as well. So I think that's going to be interesting. If Gobert sat, Nasri would become an elite play. But I think it's a pretty good spot for Ant. If all those guys are out, then he would absolutely be in a really interesting spot. So would D'Angelo Russell. And these guys just won't have any ownership today. I mean, everyone's talking about either playing Julius Randle. They're talking about playing LeBron as a forward. They're talking about going to some of these Hawks options. That's if you decide to spend up, you'd go to them or those value Hawks that could open up. No one will play him. So he'll instantly make you different right away if you would like. It'll be in my game stack team, and probably that's it for sure. On the Nuggets side, I do think Jokic, obviously a great play. But again, and I'm not trying to give out, core plays or a cash core, but a cash core would be like Cam Thomas, Sumner, Ingram, and Jokic, right? Those 4 would just instantly be on teams. So I think Jokic is a really good play, really good spend. Just have to think about how you play him with those other options. And if you want to play him, again, Giannis was not on the winning lineup yesterday. He's on some of them, but not on the main slate one, where you could get away with the fade. Could you get away with the Jokic fade? Yeah, but just think about who you're doing it with, right? Maybe it's going Julius Randle and Trae Young with DeJounte Murray ruled out, right? Then you obviously can't afford to get Jokic in there. So those are things that I try to think about is, hey, if I fade Jokic, how am I doing it? Why am I doing it? And if I decide to fade him, I could play those guards with it and then go like a Trae and a Julius Randle build. I think that's an intriguing route that could easily be on the winner. You could see Jokic get 60, Randle get you between 50 and 55 for less, and Trae Young go for a 60 piece with no Murray. And that's certainly a viable route to go. So think about how you play those guards with Jokic. I think that's a very important point on this slate when kind of building out tournament lineups. And then if you are fading Jokic, Can we not ignore Jamal Murray and what he's doing? I mean, the dude has been absolutely on fire. No one is scared of D'Angelo Russell defensively. He's 8.2K and certainly could have a ceiling game. We saw it, against Atlanta. He didn't play the last game against the Timberwolves, but certainly could see a big game out of him. So I think he's in the conversation today. All those other smaller pieces like Bruce Brown and those other options, because the Nuggets are healthier, I'm not as excited about them. It's really deciding between, hey, what happens with the news on the Timberwolves and how do I handle it? I think McDaniels is a good play regardless. If those other guys are out, you can make a case for those spend up options. And then on the Nuggets side, Jokic, a great play. Murray, a really interesting leverage option if you do not play Jokic. And I think that they're really good spend ups today.
Yeah, great breakdown there. Hopefully you get a couple of OTs for you, man, going. Get that game stack home. Let's see a screenshot just for going to the game. Hopefully I see DC at that game too. Spontaneous decision after he needs Jokic to ship. Yeah, Murray is questionable, man. That'll lower Jamal Murray's ownership even more. He didn't play last game. If I had to guess, I would say he plays. But yeah, he's questionable. If you have Jamal in your lineup and he gets ruled out, you're going to have to figure something out, have a plan. DC, talk about Jokic, talk about your Timberwolves, what you got.
Yeah, the more we talk about and look at this game, I do think, depending on how the news goes in the other games, but if all the questionable, if DeJounte Murray plays and DeMar DeRozan plays and there's just not that much value, I do think you could potentially build a pretty fun team just with the last two games. This game, Minnesota-Denver, does start an hour after Memphis and Chicago, so we might not have any of this news, and there's quite a lot of it. I expect Rudy Gobert to play, but who knows? Again, it's the NBA. Players are questionable. It's hard to predict. Kyle Anderson, last two games, played 5 and 13 minutes because of the back spasms. He had to tap out very early in both games. Seems like the prudent thing to do would be to give the guy a night off, right, after he tried 2 games in a row and couldn't make it. So I do think there's a decent chance he ends up sitting. And then the Denver situation is interesting too. I mean, Jamal Murray downgraded today from off the injury report to questionable. Coming back from that knee injury. He's been awesome, but I think they want to be really cautious with him. And if he's feeling any soreness in the knee, probably sits. And then Bones Highland is going to be almost certainly traded off this team. He's got a DNP CD, I think, in each of the last 2 games, including the last one where they were missing Jamal, Jokic, Aaron Gordon, like the whole team, right? So he's not on the injury report, but I don't think he's going to play a minute.
He's gone for sure.
He's also out of projections now. Like he's not being projected anymore finally, which took some time because he was getting ownership on night slates and stuff. So
yeah, but I guess my point is if Jamal Murray does miss and you got Bones Highland who's not going to play at all, then all of a sudden some of these Denver guys look pretty tasty. I mean, Bruce Brown I think would become really fun play at that point. Obviously, Joker is always a good play, but would be even better. Porter, Gordon would have to pick up some of the slack. Even Ish Smith played 21 minutes that last game, put up 24 fantasy points, had no ownership and super cheap. So I think if you want to, you could wait on these last 2 games, even if the news didn't break your way, you could still make competitive rosters on Minnesota, Denver, and OKC Lakers, right? Just on those 2 games. You see it all the time where the winners of the late slate on 2 games score just as many points as the winners on the main slate. And these are 2 of the better games. So I do think there's a case to wait for these last 2 games and hope that the news breaks your way. If it doesn't, listen, there's nothing wrong with being, stuck with Joker or Ant or any of these guys. They could be the leading scorer on the slate no matter what happens. And then
you can plug in values, DC, right? One thing to call out, like the value is not the greatest in the night games, but it could open up even more. But you can plug in a couple of them, right? Like maybe just plug in like Sumner and Thomas and then go from there. Like I just put the stack in real quick so there's something. I put in Sumner and Thomas and the rest is backloaded with interesting plays. I don't think it's bad at all. And also don't forget, like if Rudy Gobert plays, he gets no ownership and is like 6.6K. He could certainly have 0 ownership and pop off for like.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, even if everybody payed, look at all the players that are still decent plays here. Joker, Murray, Russell, Edwards, Gobert, Jalen Noel, I think is a little bit interesting with Austin Rivers still suspended. He played 27 minutes last game. He's still super cheap and get hot off the bench. So there's plenty of places to go in this game. Obviously, a lot depends on the news, but it is an interesting way to build for this slate. I don't think that many people are going to be waiting on Minnesota, Denver, and even Lakers and OKC. So a contrarian way to build if you want to go that direction.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, because this game is on an island at 1 hour after the Memphis-Chicago game. Then the Lakers OKC is an hour after this one. So, yeah, it's a 2-game slate. I don't think people are going to wait for the news. So, yeah, I mean, if Jamal Murray is out, Bruce Brown, we know he'd be a great play. People are asking about Jaden McDaniels. Yeah, right now with no injury news that we've got, forward, I mean, Matt going to touch on it earlier, forward is just really tough. So I think he's fine. If Kyle Anderson got ruled out, give him a bigger bump. But yeah, I think Jaden McDaniels is fine at 4.6K. We got 1 game left on this slate. We need about 30 more likes, 325 for the plays of the day. We appreciate it in advance. Last game of the slate, though, Oklahoma City Thunder, Los Angeles Lakers, 239 total. Lakers are favored by 6.5. On the OKC side, Lou Dort is out. Nothing has changed there. As far as the Lakers, LeBron is questionable. I talked earlier when I was going through the list of questionable tags. I think some are more likely to sit, some are more likely to play. I think LeBron's going to play. He needs 36 points to break the all-time scoring record, passing Kareem. Sounds like a narrative I can get behind. There's no doubt about that. They also do play at home on Thursday, though, on TNT against the Bucks. So, I mean, regardless, throw narrative and all that aside. The narrative means something to me. There's no doubt about that. But Oklahoma City's a great matchup. LeBron, he's ownership. I'm not seeing too much ownership on him. 11.2K price tag. Sign me up for LeBron. There's no doubt about that. If LeBron somehow missed, I doubt a lot of people have. If you played LeBron, if you have him in your lineup and he missed, you can go right to Anthony Davis as long as it fits the positions. But I don't think many people have roster spots left for that news. Yeah, I'll go to you first, man, going in this one. Lakers, OKC, some people talking SGA, some people talking Josh Giddey. Oklahoma City side is fine. I think I don't really see much ownership there. What are your thoughts? I guess people are talking, he'll wait for TNT and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on LeBron narrative? Talk about OKC.
I mean, guys, he
wants to break it versus Giannis. I mean, what? He could need 5 points. Like, you're not breaking it on one guy.
So here's the thing. So if the score is 30, if the score is like, let's say he's at 35 points, right? And they need a 2-pointer to win the game. Do you think LeBron is really saying, yeah, someone else shoot this, I don't want to break it here? No, of course. He's going to go for the win. I wouldn't worry about that as much. It's not something I'm thinking about. Now, if you want to really get conspiracy theory, what if he plays against the Bucks and he does the sky hook like Kareem against his old team, right? You play any narrative you want. You can spin it out.
You're really digging in that one. Was that a part of your thread that somehow got deleted? Come on, man. Go. You thought of that one.
No, someone mentioned to me on like the Reddit threads and stuff.
If you want to slide in for a lunch bet, man, going, I would like to know on LeBron breaking the record on the sky hook.
Against the Bucks.
You don't think he's gonna do the sky hook? I'll take a lunch bet on he does the sky hook in Milwaukee if you want. I'm in.
Okay, yeah.
Isn't it? Aren't they at home? Aren't they at home on TNT?
Yeah, they're at home.
Well, against the Milwaukee team. You know, that's the point. I'm gonna lunch bet with DC because you still owe me. You still owe me something. That dinner we were gonna do. But,
statute of limitations. It expired.
Oh, we'll have to talk about that. But we'll discuss because I think it could happen. But anyways, this game, LeBron, interesting spend up. My only issue is I don't know if I want to spend that much money on him today. I think I'd rather go to AD if I had to pick one. Obviously, a pretty good matchup for AD. And then like the rest of the Lakers, no interest. OKC, let's at least call out. Yesterday, they played a tighter rotation, but this is the second night of a back-to-back. I'm not trusting OKC to just like have a really nice rotation. So, yeah, anyways, I don't know.
There you go, Ricondo. They do play on TNT tonight. You are correct. Put that up there for you.
Yeah, I don't
take your victory lap.
I don't think LeBron is sitting at home really thinking about this.
He's not sitting this game. No.
Yeah, but no. I think I'm saying I don't think he's
sitting
thinking
at home
about this or whatever. But we do have to talk about some OKC options because I think like some of these forwards are kind of intriguing. You can make the case any of the Williams, right? Jalen with the Y, Jalen with the E, Ken Rich at 4.8. I think all of them are in the conversation. And even Aaron Wiggins, who had a pretty good game yesterday, better than Andrew at 3.6K. We also know sometimes they can mess around with starting lineups. I wouldn't be shocked to see Mike Muscala starting in there at 3.3K. I do think overall these OKC options are like interesting fillers that if you're MMEing, you're not just going to X them from your pool, right? You might get they might like splash throughout your lineups, right? A little sprinkle here, a little there. It's not the end of the world if I see them in there. Now, if I see 50% Aaron Wiggins, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit cautious and maybe push his projection down a bit. So overall, I think that's how I'm kind of handling OKC. I'm not trying to get to, I think, SGA. If I had to pick a spend up guard right now, it's Trae Young for me. I think that's the guy that I end up gravitating towards as my spend guard.
Makes some sense. DC, OKC, Lakers. Talk about the LeBron, obviously. Any OKC for you? What you got?
Yeah, the LeBron thing's weird because 36 points is like right on the border, right? Where, I mean, if he goes into the mindset of this game of like, oh, this is the night I want to break the record, you can obviously
he's breaking the record if he wants to break it tonight.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think if he starts off hot, he's pretty likely to get it. I don't really see OKC having the guys to slow LeBron down or Anthony Davis down, who's had 2 really good games in a row. I mean, the OKC bigs, like, they have no chance against Anthony Davis, who has looked really good these last couple of games. I mean, they got the rookie Jalen Williams, Muscala, Basley. Like, they have a new starter every other night, it seems like. Like, I think Anthony Davis could absolutely destroy this OKC team on the interior. Maybe he carries the load tonight. LeBron breaks the record against the Bucks. I could see something like that going down. So I like LeBron a lot. I mean, Anthony Davis a lot. Yeah, I do like him more than LeBron tonight, but I think both guys are obviously perfectly fine plays. And I don't know. I mean, I don't mind. Again, this is another game where you can get contrarian. I don't think many people are going to play full freight for SGA on this slate or the 7.9K for Josh Giddey. But I think those guys are good plays, and I think they're going to want to play spoiler here a little bit, right? Going into LA on national television. Obviously, OKC doesn't get that many games on the big stage. On a night where LeBron, their mindset probably is LeBron's going to try to break the record while we're in town on national television. Of course, they're going to show up for that game. So I do kind of like the OKC stars here a little bit, especially if you're pairing them up. I think SGA and Giddey with Anthony Davis or something would be a really, really contrarian build that not many people are going to have. And I'll go back to my point with the other game, the 2 island games, Minnesota, Denver, OKC, LA. Plenty of players in these games to fill out a full roster if you want to and kind of see what all shakes out with the news and everything. Leave yourself maximum flexibility. I think it makes a lot of sense on a slate like this.
I like it. That is all 6 games on this slate. The last one's fun. I mean, chat's funny in this one. Some people he's purposely not going to score enough so he can break it with Kareem there. AD game, some people, LeBron game, some other. It'll be fun to watch, no doubt about it. These
guys, Kareem's at both games. Like, he's there. Like, it's like the whole stupid Roger Maris.
He's waiting for a skyhook.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think. Yeah, waiting for a.
DC, I have watched him. I have watched with my own eyes him do skyhooks in pregame warm-ups. Okay. I'm just saying.
How many in a game has he done?
I'm just saying I've seen him doing the sky hook and everything, and he's not.
I've seen Steph shoot from the bleachers too, from the stands. He hasn't done that one in the game yet.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's all 8 games though. You got something, man, going before we plays. I hope we got the likes. I haven't even looked. 327. Just
Ricardo said they're playing on TNT tonight, and I want to say, dummy, they play on TNT Thursday also. So it doesn't matter. Either way, it's a TNT game. It doesn't matter. Like, again,
I gave Ricardo a shout out. He can victory lap his TNT tonight. To be honest, I knew it was Thursday. I didn't know that they did play on TNT tonight. So hey, you caught me, Ricardo.
I don't think it matters, title. I mean, he's not sitting there thinking about it. I don't think.
No. All right, let's go. Let's get the plays of the day, though. You guys did get us the likes, and we'll get on out here for the Up to Lock show. I will start with, man, I'm struggling a little bit, so I'm going to start with you, Mangone. I'm going to go to Mangone for the sweet Travis play of the day. Who do you got?
All right, I got it up. So forward is the spot. Actually, I'll just say this. I'm going to make a pivot here. Let's go with Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray, 8.2K. It seems like a hefty tag. It's a tough one. You could play all those guards and then jam him in there, and that'll probably get you off of the Jokic build, but it gets you more of that balanced build with some of these studs. And kind of talked about it with JSU a little bit today. Like, that stud build doesn't always work, right? And if you don't have enough studs to get the job done, which it's a night where there's not a million studs, I think it's a route where Jokic's going to have that big game to be able to help get it done. And we don't have a lot of values that we love. We obviously have these really good guards that we like, but overall, if you eliminated those guards from the slate, we'd be struggling for value. And I think that Jamal Murray is a mid-tier option. If Jokic doesn't have that big game, someone else has to. And you know who it could be? Jamal Murray. So maybe we just play those good guards, fade Jokic and go with Jamal Murray as a spend-up option that I like here against Minnesota Timberwolves defense and D'Angelo Russell, who I do not like.
Hey, I like that breakdown. I'll go to myself. I'll go somewhere in that same range. I was debating between the two Knicks. I'll go with the cheaper Nick. I'll go Jalen Brunson, 8.5K. You give me 40 minutes. I love these. I'm a sucker for these Knicks. Don't think ownership will really be there, especially with the first game of the night. Give me 40 minutes with Jalen Brunson. He's put up some big scores as of late, like the matchup against Orlando. Give me Jalen Brunson as the SO play of the day at 8.5K. Almost went Julius Randle. I like Julius Randle as well, but wanted to give little salary relief for the people. DC.
By the way, people are saying Murray might not play. Guys, it's Jamal. I'm not that worried about it. He's going to play, right? He's probably.
He was a midday downgrade.
I'm not saying. So here's the thing. I'm not that worried about it. If he doesn't play, guys, then we make pivots to other options. I think Jamal's a good play. I would not worry. I don't know. I assume he plays the game, but if he doesn't play, that's fine. We'll make other pivots. I think Jamal's a really good pivot.
We'll be in Discord as always if he doesn't play.
Make adjustments then. It's not hard.
Yeah. DC, going to you, finishing it off. Mom's basement play of the day. Who do you got?
Yeah, I guess we're going three pretty spendy guys tonight, so no salary relief here either. But I'm going with Big Anthony Davis. I think a great matchup here against the OKC Thunder, obviously, who just have nobody on the interior who I think can slow down Anthony Davis at all. You can get a 30-15 game with multiple blocks and steals. Really good blocks and steal spot for Anthony Davis as well. So I'll go with the Brow, Mom's basement play of the day.
But one thing I want to call out, title, Rudy Gobert, it's the front end of a back-to-back, and tomorrow's game is at Utah. So not saying that he's going to sit, but it's a little important nugget to think about that, hey, there's probably a greater chance he could sit if he does, because he'd want to play the Utah game. I don't know how the groin is feeling, but just calling that out, that was one more note I wanted to call out on this show.
No, that's sharp for sure. I mean, even more of a reason to save little spots for the last two games. I mean, if he's out, you obviously want Naz Reid. That's it for us, though. Right in time for the Up to Lock show. I can't get yelled at. Head over to live show chat. JTHayes 15 gets you 15% off for your first month. SaberSim is also included in that. Big weekend ahead. Golf, MMA, NASCAR, Super Bowl, bunch going on. Let's see some RPS logos up top like yesterday for Mangone, DC, I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.